It's 25 degrees Celsius on this glorious, beautiful Thursday morning in the Federal Capital Territory. Good morning and welcome to your daily dose of sunshine, whatever the weather is. I'm Maokbe Ogun Yusuf. Yes, where they are.
Yes, good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily. I'm Kayla Megwa. I mean, yesterday night was a little rough. Quite a number of things trending online. And because it was Children's Day yesterday, the conversation around our children who are in captivity came up. Yes, a lot of videos came up and things like that. But I don't know how the government must have felt yesterday, because I did feel very sad thinking about the fact that while we're busy discussing about child development, while we're busy talking about how children can be more productive, how we can raise better adults, there are children right now who are in the hands of captives. And the efforts to release them and to ensure that our children remain safe brought up a lot of conversation yesterday. And it was really sad to think about, you know, some 2-year-old in captivity right now while we're busy having speeches. And of course, you know, with the political season going on right now, everyone kept talking about how everyone is talking politics and campaigns are going on, but we have children in captivity.
Indeed, Kayla, and whether or not we accept it, whether or not the political class accepts it, that situation alone casts a pall, a dark cloud over the celebrations that ought to be happening. People ought to be at home with their families, you know, very happy, rejoice, regardless of whatever the economic situation is. But a lot of them, while they are in their houses with their families, while they are in their homes with their families, cannot but help spare a thought for those people whose children are currently in the forests with abductors. They cannot but think about the families, the adults, you know, who are in the forest as well, alongside those children against their will. And for some Nigerians, it's not just, you find now on social media, even especially on Instagram, where you find that people try to do things that are very different from Twitter. Twitter seems to be the militant arm of the social media world. But it appears that even on Instagram, people now know that they cannot hide from what the current reality of Nigeria is. And so you find people saying things like, look, guys, we cannot act like the rest of the world, or, you know, all is well with us when all isn't well. We have our fellow citizens who are currently in the hands of abductors. What is the government of the day doing? Because at the end of the day, it falls back to the government. Citizens can only spare a thought. They can only pray. They can only hope. That is all that they can do. Indeed. But it is the government that has the capacity to wrest these people out of the hands of the abductors. That is what government is about, to assure the safety and security, the welfare and security of citizens who have put their trust, who have put their confidence in it. So it is very heartbreaking that 2 weeks after these people were taken, they still haven't been returned to their families. We haven't seen situations where, you know, journalists are going to those communities to go and speak with the families that are there, and you find out that it's only the families of those people who are still left in that particular village. The rest of the village has emptied out. I did come across a video done by Aide, yes, where he went to that community and was able to speak with the families, especially the father of a 2-year-old who is currently in captivity. The wife is a teacher in one of the schools. She had the baby strapped to her back. She was made to do a video by one of those bandits, and the father kept on saying, look, they should come and take me, bring back my wife and my son, bring back my wife and my child. I'm happy to be in your captivity while the government is working on this.
You know, Mark, one of the saddest things about this, again, is the fact that this is not the first time, it's not the second time, it's not the third time. It does feel like in many ways, over the decades, we have failed our children continually. Continuous failure of our children. Whether it was the Chibok girls, Dapchi girls, Kankara. There's always something going on in some school where they've taken our children.
Is this in Niger State?
And it's all over the country. It's all over the country. I think the government should actually use this as an opportunity. As much as we see that you don't like being criticized, well, you don't take criticism very well most of the time, but maybe take this as an opportunity to look again at the security architecture and what gains we're making, what failures are there, how are we making mistakes, are we doing the right things, are we failing Nigeria's children? Because what happens is you're raising very traumatized people. And these people, how do you, I don't know what to do. If I was kept, I don't know if I can be patriotic after going through something like that on a personal level. So we're raising angry people. We're raising traumatized children who do not believe in government, who do not believe that things work. An entire generation of Nigerians have no idea what government does or how it works. I think it's really time that this government, and it's not just about President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, just government of Nigeria in general, start to think about how to gain the trust of the Nigerian people. Because you are definitely creating a situation where chaos will reign. Because people do not want to feel like they don't have any power over their lives. And if they cannot trust government to protect them, what you just created people who are going to be anti-government. And then you're expecting them to somehow be loyal to you and do the right things and pray for their country and be... How are they supposed to do that? It doesn't add up.
Yesterday, over the weekend, before yesterday, we saw the PFN, Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, also protesting, asking that, attention be paid to security. And people are drumming this over and over again, especially as we go into we know it's a political season, and we do know that oftentimes, sometimes too, what some of these bad people try to do is distract the state. But then the state has to be the state. The state cannot say, oh, because they're trying to distract us, we're going to refuse to be distracted, and so we go about,
you are government.
Okay, so you do what you need to do, but then can you also show the reason why we have these elections in the very first instance? Why it is that we have chosen this form of government is because people want to be able to say we choose our leaders and we choose them because they can do the following things. You have been chosen in the first instance, however controversial that was, but show them what you're capable of. That is all that people are asking for, especially in the area of security. Well, Kayla, I do know that journalists found a way of asking the president that question, especially as he went to the Eide grounds yesterday to say a prayer. If you missed it, this is what the president had to say.
Of dignitaries adorned in traditional attire make their way into the Dodon Barracks in Ikoyi, Lagos, joining President Bola Tinubu for the 2026 Eid al-Kabir prayer. Unlike the open prayer grounds accessible to the general public, this is a restricted gathering. The National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu, the Chief of Staff to the President Femi Gbajabiamila, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, Deputy Governor Kadri Hamzat, and other top officials joined the President to observe the rites. Muslims, men, women, and children also gather in separate tents for prayers. After the prayer session, President Tinubu urged Nigerians to embrace tolerance and adhere to the rule of law.
We must learn from the lessons of this season, and is showing love to one another. No discrimination, no ethnicity, no hatred, and we should share. It is essential that we be very tolerant, be obedient to the wish of Allah, and obedient to the rule of law, which must guide our society. Nowhere in the only teaching that you should engage in banditry. Nowhere that you should kill another human being.
The message of sacrifice, symbolized by the slaughtering of rams and sharing among neighbors, was echoed by the chief imam and other leaders.
So for our nation to attain that prosperity, that national development, all of us need to sacrifice. So all our leaders too need to sacrifice. As citizens, we need to sacrifice and be more passionate about our nation.
It is important at this stage for us to remember the members of the armed forces, especially those that are deployed in areas of operations. They don't have the privilege of observing the Eid with their family, so we should continue to support them with prayer.
Other officials asked citizens to remain hopeful for a better nation and live in harmony.
If you fear God, you will not kill another human being, you will not hurt another human being. So we must live in peace and harmony, and we pray that God will be with all of us and let us celebrate many more.
Continue to pray for the country, that this election will go smoothly, it will be fair, it will be credible. And of course, I want everybody to continue to pray for the president, and that things will continue to get better. His reform will begin to yield fruits.
Muslims also converged on the police college in Ikeja for the Eid al-Kabir prayers. A central lesson of Eid al-Kabir is the call to show mercy and compassion regardless of ethnicity or religion.
Well, that was how the Eid went down in Lagos yesterday, and the pleas of those who spoke to the Nigerian people as well as the government of the day. And I think I cannot but agree with who also says we should spare thought for our armed forces, spare thought for our security agencies. Yes, we're not satisfied with results so far, especially with people still in captivity. However, we must also commend the sacrifices that they're making, because we do know that while we might not be 100% where we want to be, we do know that it could be a lot worse, but for the efforts that they're making. So we do hope that things will step up, that things will look up. In the meantime, we commend their efforts and their sacrifice. We'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll be taking a look at the political scene and what exactly is transpiring, and particularly in the African Democratic Congress, which has now concluded its primaries, and that of the NDC, which is continuing its own primaries tomorrow. In just a moment, please stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching Sunrise Daily, coming to you from our studios in Abuja. Well, yesterday, the African Democratic Congress concluded its primaries, which was conducted via direct primaries. According to the results that was released yesterday and announced yesterday, we understand that a total number of registered members was 3,113,599. Total votes cast was 2.5 million. 27,977 votes, and votes obtained by contestants was broken down. Saw former Vice President Atiku leading the table with over 1.8 million votes. Former Governor of Rivers State, Rotimi Amechi, scored 500,000 plus votes, and businessman Hayatu Dane scored 177,120 votes. Now, all of these votes, as collated and tallied, has now been rejected by the other contestants on that particular platform. We found a tweet by Right Honorable Chibike Amechi rejecting the votes. According to a statement that he put out on the X platform, he says that he unequivocally rejects the concocted results being announced. He says he had initially stated that he will only accept the outcome of the primaries if the process was free, fair, and transparent, and that he stands by his word. He says he will not accept results from a process that does not reflect the values that the ADC had pledged to uphold to rescue Nigerians from the impunity and gross mismanagement that the country is currently facing in the hands of the ruling party. According to him, there's no way that about 80% of members of the party were not allowed to vote, and they expect him to accept such results. He says, what then makes us different from the others? The whole idea of the ADC was to give the Nigerian people a platform to amplify the voices of the downtrodden and make Nigeria a better place for everyone, irrespective of backgrounds, ethnicity, or religion. A party that criticizes the ruling APC and INEC for vote buying, rigging, and writing of results cannot be engaged in vote buying, writing of results, and other electoral malpractices that lead to the disenfranchisement of voters who are party members. It says this is not acceptable. I believe that the statement of Hayatuddin is not any different.
Of course, Mr. Hayatuddin is actually a little bit more upset. He says, I will not be attending, this was a tweet from him, I will not be attending the announcement of the ADC presidential election results today. I'm concerned by results, he says, from across the country of widespread vote rigging, he's alleging, some of which I myself observed. He says he actually saw this happen. He says, and will therefore be taking advice on my next step. So our conversation this morning really has to do with the state of opposition, because we also saw from the Nigeria Democratic Congress clarifying its scheduled presidential, National Assembly, Governorship and State Assembly primaries. The primaries are still scheduled to hold nationwide on May the 29th, in keeping with the original May 28th and 29th timetable. However, the party is saying that in view of the Salah celebrations and the resulting public holidays, and so it's affecting transportation and logistical challenges, it says including non-availability of flights. So because of that, many aspirants who were in Abuja after the screening exercise, as well as members of the screening team, are stranded in Abuja, they say. And they've decided that May 28th should be used for arrivals, documentation with INEC and security agencies, consultative meetings, and other preparations, while the actual primaries of the NDC will now hold on May the 29th. The team will use May the 28th to also hold meetings with stakeholders, party elders, and aspirants in their respective states. So no agencies of the state, viz. Police, INEC, DSS, etc., are to play any role in the programs and meetings of May the 29th. Any activities carried out outside these guidelines should be unauthorized and deemed illegal, they say in the statement. And the process of primaries on May 29th will be as follows. They say it will be presidential affirmation, National Assembly primaries and affirmation, State Assembly primaries and affirmation, and governorship primaries and affirmation. So that is a timetable for the NDC. And all the ripples that will follow after this result that was announced by the African Democratic Congress will, of course, be keeping tabs on how they all handle this result in the coming days. But we do have to talk about the state of opposition in Nigeria this morning.
Indeed, Kayla, and right now we're joined by the National Publicity Secretary of the Nigeria Democratic Congress, OSA Director. Thank you so much for joining us on Sunrise Daily this public holiday. But it appears that the political parties are not on holiday. They are not on holiday at all. Well, this is what we've seen from the ADC, which some of your members left a few weeks back to join your party. How do we know that what we're seeing party members complain of in the ADC now will not be for the NDC?
Certainly it's not going to happen in the ADC. We are not saying that it's going to be foolproof. No system is 100% foolproof against complaints and dissent from disenfranchised or those who feel a bit disappointed with the process, especially, human beings, if things don't go their way, they are naturally going to complain. But however, in the case of NDC, we are a party of innovation. We are a party of the that is a vehicle that is taking Nigeria to the future and to the next level, not the level of the APC, And because of our innovative approach and creativity, we have decided that we are not going to do things the way things are normally done, And we are particularly lucky in this situation. Our presidential primaries will not have any crisis, will not have any complaint, because we have only one presidential aspirant, that is His Excellency Peter Obi. He was the only one that picked the form for the presidential slot of the Nigerian Democratic Congress. So I don't think there's going to be any complaint. That's why we said it's going to be by affirmation, complying and in compliance with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the Electoral Act.
Affirmation is just everybody signaling, or
yes,
to affirm that you were all in agreement. So we see that the rest of them, though, you now have National Assembly primaries and affirmation. Are they going to take place in different constituencies, or would they be taking place in a central location?
No, they're going to take place in different constituencies. For example, if you are running for Senate, you know, there will be a venue in that senatorial district where the election will take place. Then if you are running for House of Rep, there will be a particular venue where the election is going to take place. Similarly, for the governorship election across all the local governments. So, and when you are doing it, as you are voting for your candidates in National Assembly election, then you also have to do affirmation for the presidential primaries.
Okay, so the affirmation you're referring to is not the one for the National Assembly or State Assembly or governorship primary?
The National Assembly, governorship, and the State House of Assembly are guided by the fact that you either elect your candidate through consensus or direct primaries. We are emphasizing, and that's what we said today, 28th of May, should be for consultation among party elders, stakeholders, and all the aspirants, as much as we can, once a situation where our candidates emerge through consensus. Considering time constraint, because INEC has been able to pigeonhole us into a very tight situation. So we encourage our candidates or our aspirants to agree on consensus. But where that is not possible, then they go for direct primaries.
Okay, so what measures are you putting in place? Because we do know that it's very difficult many times to achieve consensus. Your party is relatively new, and it's unclear how many elders you have already within your party and how the elders have even emerged. But if this is what we're looking, if we're to go with the trends that we have seen, even in established parties, achieving consensus can be sometimes very tricky. And most of them have had to resort to direct primaries. And we've seen quite a bit of dissatisfaction. It ought to be very straightforward. It's not that people queue up and they're counted. But when we see magical counting, you know, counting that does not follow linear, the sort of
procedure.
Exactly. That's what we're beginning to see. How are you going to make sure that within your party system, those kinds of behaviors are avoided and prohibited?
Yes, our party, like I said, is a party of innovation. And we had a discussion with all the aspirants. After the screening exercise in Abuja, where all the aspirants came, numbering thousands of them, we had a dinner with all the aspirants where the national leader of the party, His Excellency, Distinguished Senator Seriake Dixon, spoke and addressed the aspirants, telling them that we just have one ticket. For example, you have 20. Like in a constituency in Edo State, where I come from, Moredo Federal Constituency, we have about 20 aspirants. We are not going to tear this ticket into 20 pieces. You know, that you should understand that only one person is going to occupy the position at a point in time. And we are pleading for understanding and cooperation. And we are going to ensure a transparent and all-inclusive participatory process where everybody will be convinced that if I lost, I indeed lost. All you need to do is to ensure that everybody is conscious of the fact and pleased with the fact that the process was transparent, was inclusive, was participatory. There's no need excluding members from voting. If that is done and you still complain, then there's the appeal committee.
Because everything is happening on the same day, one would have thought that the party would have had a mechanism to ensure that, you know, it goes according to plan. People are not disenfranchised. There is no fraud. There is no cheating. But it appears that that will not be possible given the plans that you already have.
Well, it's going to be possible because we have done a lot of enlightenment, because it is a party that is emphasizing on internal democracy. That is our cardinal principle. There must be internal democracy because we are not going to play the game as business as usual. And that was why that dinner party held. Apart from the dinner party, there will be several consultative meetings. And when you talked about how we came, it was probably going to be difficult to get elders. No, there are elders in the party. For example, in the Southeast, you have ex-governors, people who have been out of office for over 8 years, 10 years, 12 years. People like Kosileji, Uwondo, Achike, Udenwa, Sam Egu. They are part of the party, they are members of the party, and they are elders. And like in Edo State, you have people like Distinguished Senator Roland Uwe and all that. So these are people who will tell the aspirants that, look, Politics is not a do-or-die affair. And since we have promised Nigerians that we are going to be different, that this is an innovative party that emphasizes on transparency, commitment to the virtues of the principle of democracy and the rule of law, that we should conduct yourself in such a way and manner that the country will know that, yes, you are going to promise hope and not hopelessness.
Some people say that your party is taking advantage of Peter Obi and Kwankwaso.
Every party takes advantage of situations.
Are you taking advantage of Peter Obi and Kwankwaso?
We are not taking advantage. Why don't you say Peter Obi and Kwankwaso are taking advantage of NDC?
Well, because that's not how that works. Because what happened in 2023 was, you know, everybody rode on the Obi wave. Yeah. A lot of politicians rode on the Obi wave. Because, and I'm hearing that kind of rhetoric from you right now, which is the fact that a lot of focus is on the presidential. Peter Obi. Because what happens with that is what we saw in 2023. A lot of people who, you know, just stayed quietly and had just joined Labour Party, all of them came into office because of the Obi wave. Even though Obi lost the presidential election, a lot of them were able to make their way into office, you know, riding on that wave. And they say, some people say that the NDC is actually just following the same playbook that the Labour Party followed at the time.
No, we are not following the same playbook Labour Party's plays. It's only an inexperienced person, but I want to use a word that is harsh. I would have said a fool that will not learn lessons from history. We have learned from the incident of the past that happened in the Labour Party, and that was why our screening, we took a particular special notice of the fact that a lot of people, especially even people from the diaspora who have never participated in politics, rush to pick form under the platform of the Nigerian Democratic Congress, NDC, as you are saying, probably to ride on the Obi Kwankwaso wave. And also because they see that the NDC is a vibrant alternative platform to the mess we are having in the country today. And we are conscious of all that. Even during the screening, most of them were asked all those questions. So they know. And if you are not on ground, who is going to vote for you? How can you get the Obi wave when you don't have the party ticket? Because you find out that during the Labour Party experience, there were a lot of people that we didn't know, like in my state. At my own level, I never knew who was running for Senate. I never saw him. He never printed a single poster, not to talk of a billboard. But he went to the Senate. He got there, and they came opportunistically to APC. But that he has been given a beating of his life. You know, and almost everybody that did that in Labour Party had this experience of not being given a ticket by the APC. So, flowing from that experience, the NDC has also told all the aspirants that it is not going to be business as usual. We are going to check your pedigree. If you don't have a verifiable pedigree and commitment to the party, to the principles and values that the party is espousing, then you are not going to pick a ticket and fly the flag of NDC. So we are learning from the mistakes of the past.
It's a very dicey one, and one that Nigerians are watching very, very closely, especially because of the president, well, your consensus candidate. It hasn't happened yet, but we know that that's what's coming.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the structures in state levels of the NDC and their ability, because it's not just the presidential office that we're looking at. There's governorship, there's National Assembly, there's local level politics. What kind of structures are on ground for the NDC at local levels that can ensure that the people understand what the NDC stands for, and not just, oh, Peter Obi is the presidential candidate, so everybody else that follows after is a good idea?
That is even why we are holding consultative meetings now, because people are thinking that, oh, if I get the ticket of NDC, it's straight, you know, riding on the Obi wave. And during the consultative meetings, we send national officials from Abuja to the various states to have discussion with the state chairman and the secretaries and the members of the executive council of NDC at the state level, at the local government level, and even the ward level. And those will also identify as senior members of the party in terms of the position they have held in the past or in terms of their age and commitment to politics over the years, to discuss with everyone that, look, this is not about a single individual. And like the national leader of the party said, His Excellency Distinguished Senator Seriaki Dixon, NDC is not a special multipurpose vehicle for anyone, and that is the truth. So we are ensuring the fact that we are telling members that this is not a special multipurpose vehicle for you. We have some in some things we have put in place to checkmate these opportunistic charlatans who may want to take advantage of NDC as
what
a vehicle.
What structures have we put in place to check it?
So the fact is that we will not be able, we are not in a position to disclose all of our strategy because you know that we are fighting a behemoth, that is the ruling party. So some of these things are there. And like I told you, that we even, during the screening, even though we didn't disqualify any person, we confronted some of those aspirants. Do you know that there are aspirants who are in NDC that are being sponsored by the ruling party? We know that from various states because we also have our intelligence. We confronted them. So those ones already know that they are not getting the ticket because we know that they are most planted in the party.
Let's talk a bit about some of the comments that people have been saying about your consensus candidates, Peter Obi. There are many people who've been saying, "Oh, he can't win an election. This is just an exercise in futility." Dismissing him, basically saying he's going to come a distant third in the elections or a distant fourth, even. How does the NDC respond to those kinds of statements?
You know, we've heard that before. In 2023, when he was in Labour Party, he said he had no structure. He had no single councillor, not to talk of House of Assembly members or governors or people in the National Assembly. He wasn't going to go anywhere. Indeed, I had a bet with a friend of mine, a distinguished senator. I hope he's watching me now. He still owes me 1 million naira.
You bet $1 million.
Yeah. He said Obi, because I told him that Obi is going to win Lagos State. And that Obi is going to get, he's going to win the election. That win the election, he will do well. He told me that if Obi gets 100,000 votes in Lagos, then he will give me 1 million. If Obi gets up to 1 million votes across the country, he will give me 1 million. That's even 2 million. Exactly. Because it was Lagos and national. Obi won Lagos.
Does Peter Obi know that people are using him to do kalu kalu?
Nobody is using Peter Obi.
No, I mean like you and your friend.
Okay, you mean my
That's Peter Obi knows. People are using him to make
sure
money.
If he knows, His Excellency will ask us for commission.
Fair enough. I want to quickly ask you about the timetable. This is because right now you have called your elections. You've cut it really close according to the INEC timetable. You're holding your nationwide primaries tomorrow. You're supposed to have concluded by the 30th of May. Yeah. You should also be concluding disputes arising therefore from the primaries. But you're doing yours on the 29th. Leaves you just a day to be able to settle differences. Yeah. How do you intend to manage that?
Yeah, that is why I said that our greatest emphasis is on consensus candidates. And I can assure you that most, across the country, we have attained that. But there are a few stubborn aspirants who will say we'll never step down. Those are the few ones we are going to conduct primaries for. And at the end of the day, it will easily be done. So and I also want to tell you that we are not happy with the way INEC, did the timetable in such a way that it leaves little or no room for anyone to have enough time to conduct proper due diligence and conduct a primaries that you can be proud of. But in spite of that, we are going to do our best within the available time possible to produce a primary that is transparent and credible.
All right, we'll be wishing you all the very best because that's all that we can wish you. And we hope that you are able to live up to your word and that the fallouts will not be as dramatic as what we're currently witnessing in all the other parties. We've been speaking with Mr. Osa, Director, who is the National Publicity Secretary of the Nigerian Democratic Congress. Thank you once more for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me.
We'll take a break now. When we come back, Laolu Akonde joins us in the next segment. Please stay with us. Well, Mr. Laulu Akonde joins us now. He's a former presidential aide and the host of Channels Television's Inside Sources. It's good to see you. Barka de Salah to you. I hope you've been able to get some meat this season.
Yeah, well, my friends are still holding even excess luggage of, of meat for me. Certainly, yes. And good to see you guys.
Indeed. Well, never mind that, even as we celebrate, we're also still quite sober because we do know that children are still very much in the hands of captives, in the hands of their captors, rather. And people are still very concerned as to how everything just seems like we're going on with business as usual, with these people still very... Why does it take so long? I mean, from your own experience, why do you think it takes so long when things like this happen? It appears that there isn't so much in terms of the response, in terms of the sense of urgency we have to rescue. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for asking that question, Marwe. So in my conversations with some of these top security chiefs, including those who have retired and some of those that are still inside, they give me a clear understanding that, look, this problem is solvable. And that's the kind of feedback that you get over and over again. That this is not an intractable. That the problem is just that we are not, to use some of their words, we have just not decided to be serious about it enough. That we have the capacity, but it's going to take a change in the way governance is done, in the way the security architecture operates. And that it will require, the political will, starting from the leaders. And I think that's part of the reason why you see the president shift and say that, look, okay, you know what, I'm going to open another section of homeland security to have some kind of better coordination. So it is sad in my view, and I also served in government for 8 years, and like I always say, I'm the first person to consider that, yes, some of us went to government hoping that this problem will be solved, but we didn't get the kind of leadership that we had expected. So I just think that we need to keep on urging the president, like he said in his statement yesterday on the Children's Day, to say that we are not abandoning you. I'm just going to have to urge him and say, look, Mr. President, keep an eye on this thing. Show us more resolve, like you did when you were pushing issues that were very important in your view, like tax reform. Be more bullish. And we have to give you a bit of a credit. Or you have to be more bullish. You have to be more bullish about these things so that you can inspire hope in the Nigerian people.
Well, we do hope that, if they say that it won't take much, it won't take much, and yet where we are, it does make us question the priorities of our political leaders. But while we wait to see when we can get a hold of the president, maybe he'll be speaking to the media, we never can tell, to know exactly what his priorities are. We also do know that there are parties who are right now conducting their own primaries to provide alternatives. That if, you're not happy with the president, well, here we are, you can vote for us. But even the emergence of the candidates within those parties' platforms have not now come without controversy. We saw that of the African Democratic Congress conclude its own primaries yesterday, and Alhaji Atiku Abubakar emerging as the flag bearer. And we've seen very long statements, well, maybe not so long, but at least very hard statements from co-contestants who are rejecting the results of the primaries. At the beginning of this program, we read that of Chibike Amechi as well as Mohammed Hayatuddin, who said he wasn't going to attend the announcement of the results. From what you have seen and heard so far, are you surprised by the conduct of the actors within this opposition political parties?
Well, so I don't know whether to say I'm surprised because, part of my own view was that if ADC were serious, they ought to have zoned the presidency to the south. So I had always said that, look, this idea of, wanting to go outside what has emerged, or at least is imagined as a national consensus around the rotation, is a bad idea.
You haven't heard them say that opposition parties do not have that luxury, that what they must what they must always think about is a candidate, yes, who can give them the votes.
But the problem now is that there's no way. It's even worse for the ADC now because you now have a primary and the two other co-contestants, like you said, they're completely, not aligned. Now, I have my inside sources and I know that when they suspended, and I'm going to say this because I know it for a fact, when they suspended the coalition, it was because the numbers that they were concocting was not hard enough. And so they had to change the numbers to make it add up. That is not a kind of political party or a movement that will bring change to Nigeria. No. And the very idea that one man is going to just put his foot down and say that whatever it is, I must get this thing and organize around that is not the change that we want. So we have to rise up against that kind of tendency. Yes, we are dealing with similar stuff in some parts of the APC and people are speaking out. And on this one, people are also speaking out. So I don't see any hope. There's no real, I don't expect that they will be, the way ADC is going, they cannot mobilize any national groundswell. They cannot. It's clearly like a gang up of a few people who are disgruntled with Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and they don't even have the political heavyweight. Now they are going to lose. It seems. Amechi is disgruntled because it's not a fair process. Ayatollah is going out. And both of them are saying that, look, you can't do it this way. So the party, ADC, is losing steam.
Some people will say it's early days yet. Politicians always have a way around pacifying their members. You always initially get this, and then much later you hear them, they've come around, etc., etc. But while they work at it and while we wait to see if that would actually happen, we're also paying attention to what the NDC is doing. They also released a statement. But, according to their spokesperson, they only have one person who is vying for presidential ticket, and it appears that they're just going to be affirming him tomorrow. So while we wait to see what happens at the local level, how they're able to manage that, because they only have a day to be able to settle everything and the disputes that would arise from it. Do you think that they will fare better because of the position that they currently are at?
Well, so the challenge, in my view, of the NDC is that I don't think they have had enough time to really build a party, really. Look, the headquarters of the party right now is somebody's, is somebody's private residence. And I'm sure, I hope that they will sort that one out. But it speaks to the fact that it's a hurried up arrangement. So we are yet to see how they can actually organize themselves. Nigeria has 36 states and FCT, the number of polling units. It's a huge responsibility and duty and task to be able to even have enough agents and to be able to sustain all of those people. It's not tea party. And that is why the idea of a party being described as a main party is very important, it's very critical, because you need people who understand the game in virtually every ward and around every polling unit. I don't think that NDC has shown us, and all of them, another point, all of them, whether it's ADC or NDC, we don't even have a counter manifesto on the table as we are speaking.
All right, let's move on to another topic that kind of trended yesterday, and it has to do with the presidential spokesperson. This AI video. At least from
audio? Is it audio video?
I think it's an audio. Yes, okay. The audio of the president on a video of Very Dark Man.
Yeah.
And of course, the fact checkers have revealed that it was an anonymous user who extracted VDM's video and superimposed an AI-generated clone of the president's voice over it. And then the content, the cloned audio maliciously claimed that the administration intentionally allowed regional insecurity to persist to secure political leverage for 2027. I think one of the strangest things about this story was the fact that the presidential spokesperson responded to this before the verification as to whether this was a real situation or not. And that response from Mr. Bayo Nanuga is on screen right now. He's saying that VDM needed to be to face the weight of the law, you know, after being a conveyor and disseminating what he called false news and things like that. It's a very strange era that we are technology-wise, where people are mischievous and they will do all kinds of things.
Right.
You've been a presidential spokesperson. Luckily, you didn't have to deal with a lot of things like that. Although there were some during the NSAS period that you had to handle. How should the presidential spokesman have handled this situation before coming out to make that statement? Because it does feel like there's egg on his face right now. People are saying you couldn't wait.
That this was fake.
This was fake. Why couldn't you wait? And then there's also the fact that, look, how does the presidency handle these kinds of videos? Because there will be a lot of them in the run up to 2027.
Well, you know, I think that, you know, to look at it from both sides, I understand the need to debunk it. You know, to say that the president did not say these things, you know, come on. But yes, you're right that maybe the villa should have been able to authenticate the video itself and say that, look, we even know that this is fake. So I guess that is where they dropped the ball, you know. But to say that this is irresponsible, the president did not say this, I think, you know, that is the right thing to do.
Okay.
But the problem is that now you are calling out this guy who was also
the victim of AI manipulation.
Yeah. And that, you know, it would be ideal to cross all the T's and dot all the I's before a presidential statement is
released on something like this.
Yeah.
But it also, you know, the second part of my question, which was, you know, getting ready for how much of this we're going to see. In the coming months.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot.
It's going to be, I mean, now that we are getting close, the parties are bringing their candidates, we're going to see a lot of shenanigans, you know, so, and it's going to be a challenging time even for journalists, even for public commentators, for politicians, you know, but I guess everybody just has to be at their best game.
What are the laws on this, so that people who are planning to do this sort of thing know
and that's the point.
What the ramifications are?
Yeah, very good point, Kayla. So we need to be able to get some of the perpetrators of this act and actually let them face the wrath of justice for this kind of behavior that worsens our situation, that threatens our cohesion, and takes advantage, you know, of the technology in a negative way. I think the important thing is that, you know, the people who are the law enforcement agencies should go after some of them so that will serve as a deterrent to others.
Yeah. It's interesting because I was just telling Kayla, I said, look, as journalists, if you were to take a look at that video, on the face of it, you could see that the video itself, the video of VDM, was not AI. It was actual clips of him that were separate, that were stitched together, concocted. And anyone can edit that from even interviews that we're doing like this, you know, and so you could see that it wasn't AI. However, you could tell that the president's voice there was something wrong with that. So it's a very tricky situation that we have now found ourselves where, you know, reality is being mixed up with a bit of fiction. And then you find even people who are discerning trying to really, you know, make sense of, you know, of this. So I believe there is a note of caution, really, to everyone. But speaking about note of caution, we also saw during the week the disclaimer by prominent Islamic cleric Sheikh Gumi issuing a disclaimer on his involvement with bandits and saying that all he's ever asked for is peace. All he's ever sought is peace. And he believes that the way to go about this is through negotiations. From what we gather in certain quarters, that is something that government has been thinking of very seriously, because people the argument is right there, it's out there, that what is source for goose, what was source for goose in the Niger Delta needs to be source for goose in the Northwest, where, you know, these people are unhappy with the current situation of things. I don't know what your thoughts are and how you think that this debate might proceed, especially, one, with the disclaimer, and then two, with this thinking currently, you know, being in the air.
Well, so I think there is a slight difference between what happened in the Niger Delta, in my view, you know, and what we are seeing in terms of the terror. You know, what happened in Niger Delta, yes, you know, if you apply the laws, you know, it's still breaking the law. But I think they had a clearly economic pursuit of some kind of economic independence, or to say that, look, you guys can't be taking this stuff from us, and this is how we are being treated, And I'm not saying that they didn't break the law too. They did break the law. But it's different from people that are killing human beings, that are targeting the vulnerable who are living in spaces that are, quote unquote, ungoverned. People who have who are completely defenseless, and using them as some kind of a bargaining chip, by bandits and terrorists. I don't think it is the same. Now, but should there be some kind of negotiation? So again, we have to clarify that, and it's important that we call Sheikh Gumi out on this. Nobody should negotiate with somebody who cut off the head of another person. And we don't want to be hearing that kind of nonsense. Okay? This is oral, despicable behavior by anybody. Anybody who cuts off the head of people. And this is what is going on, extreme violence. We have to be able to get a hold of this. When we get a hold of it, then we can talk about how we can take care of the foot soldiers who basically are just following orders. We must cut the head of this problem. We must deal with these people. There is no negotiation with people that are killing people and making a show of it and telling us that they will do more. There is no basis at all in any decent society. And so we must tell Mr. Sheikh Gumi that, Mr. Sheikh Gumi, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed of yourself trying to suggest that we should be making peace with people who are murderers, and they are killing innocent people. Sheikh Gumi, an Islamic leader, you should be ashamed of yourself for that. What we should do instead is, when we deal with the leaders, then the followers who don't hold so much responsibility, we can take care of them. But we must sort out these bandits who are sucking blood, who are causing blood and tears in the country. We should not negotiate with them. And Sheikh Gumi should shut up.
Well, I don't know that a lot of people will have anything different to say, but we have to thank you this morning for sharing your thoughts with us. Mr. Laolu Akonde is a former presidential spokesperson and also the host of Channels Television's Inside Sources. Thank you once more for coming on Sunrise Daily. That's when we draw the curtains on today's program. We hope that you enjoyed your time with us and have a very reflective, while also trying to celebrate what's left of the Salah. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf.
Business Mornings at the top of the hour. I'm Kayla Magwa. Have a great day ahead.